Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today's episode is yet again another hiking hot tent adventure with Boomer and I. Today we do have a brand new tent, very similar to the last one we used. Different color, little different details here and there. We have the same stove except a different size. So pretty much the same. New tent, new stove, again. But a major thing that I just realized, and I actually took note of this before I came out, I just decided not to care. I wanted to see how it went. So the stoves do come with brand new roll-up titanium pipes. This pipe that I'm using, I've been using for years on all of my wood stoves. The stove that I'm using today is the same wood stove that I was using in the last video, just a different size. So I assumed that the pipe diameter was going to be the same. It's actually a tiny bit larger. So this is the spark arrestor that belongs to the wood stove inside of the tent. And this is one of the rings that belongs to the stove. And this is an old ring. So you guys can see there's about a ½ inch difference between those. So what I've had to do is basically, I think these are 2-inch, maybe I don't know, maybe 2.5, 2 3/4, I don't know. But basically I ran the small rings from the top of the pipe and the small spark arrestor all the way down to about the last 12 inches of pipe, and then I put the large ring on to go on the actual manifold damper piece on the stove. And so basically it's tapering. It's going a little bit larger and then tapering up the small, and it's actually working really well. The reason why I had to use the small rings is because that pipe is already formed to a smaller diameter and it won't spring open enough to hold these rings on there. And if these rings slide down while the stove's burning, the whole stovepipe will lose all of its structural integrity. It'll spiral and collapse like a piece of paper. So going with the smaller rings tonight, it will work no problem. And like I said, I knew this, I just didn't care. And yeah, kind of an oversight on my part to not time accordingly to that. So that is done. Stove's in there, stovepipe's ready to go. I'm going to throw my sleeping bag in, my pad's in there. I'm going to inflate that later on. And it is getting later in the day. It is dark and cloudy and moody, cold, windy. So we need to get some wood and get that foot stove fired up, make a hot coffee. Alright guys, just hunkering inside of the tent for a moment, warming up, got my jacket off, so it is actually very warm inside of here, even with both of these doors wide open. This is throwing some heat. So, just in case you guys missed the last episode, as I was mentioning, this tent is very similar, and I'm talking about the red tent that I was using, except this is a 3-person size, so it's much wider, and it almost seems like it's a little bit longer in the vestibule as well. There is a ton of room inside this tent, making it a very good choice, I think, for winter time, stocking up a lot of wood, doing a lot of gear inside, chilling out, just having fun inside the tent when the weather's not that great outside. So this stove, like I said, brand new, is doing a great job at doing a really great job at burning. Actually, I'm really quite surprised that the windows are staying clear, because this wood is quite wet, and typically wet wood with the bark on there does like to foul the glass every now and then. The stove that I had last time, the miniature version of this, did not have any side windows, so this is actually kind of nice. I gotta say, I do really like the other stove with no windows just as much as I like this one with the windows. Pros and cons, you know, but yeah, this is great. Boomer's loving it too. Boomer was just hiding behind the stove, lofting all that heat in there. So I do have a cup of coffee on the go right now. I'm gonna finish this up, and I mean, it's only about 5 o'clock, guys, but it's almost pitch dark outside, so gonna have to stick around this area, and there are eagles flying around and owls. I've seen 2 of them so far. So Boomer is gonna hunker inside of the tent and do his thing nice and protected. And in fact, right now he's curled up on the sleeping bag, which is why I have not inflated my sleeping pad, because I don't want his claws punching holes in it. So he's really comfortable right now. I'm gonna finish up my coffee, and then I'm gonna get started on supper. I'm gonna be cooking it right here on the wood stove. So I've got to get stuff out of my backpack, get some food prepped, bring it inside and start cooking. So cheers guys. I'm going to finish up this coffee with this beautiful, beautiful warm wood stove. Alright guys, before I start on supper, I do have to prep some more firewood. Went off in the forest here, and I was able to find, not too far away, a couple pieces. I got a piece of softwood here, this big piece of hardwood, and a couple more pieces of hardwood here. It did downpour with rain recently, so a lot of the stuff is wet. Really important that I get it cut now, set next to the wood stove before I start cooking, because I will run into wet wood. And there are a couple pieces down here actually that have been sitting here that actually looks kind of dry. So I'll cut this first, prep a little bit of wood, and then we'll start on supper. Alright guys, I've got a fair bit of pretty dense hardwood actually, and the inside is really nice and dry, but it's not totally dry all the way through on every piece. So I'm just kind of strategically laying certain pieces kind of where I need them. I cut this piece with this fork on purpose because that's going to make a great baton for batoning some of these logs down once they dry out, as I did not bring the axe on this trip. The reason why I didn't bring the axe is because I actually brought 2 pounds of steak, 2 pounds of beef. So give or take a little bit of weight there, you know what I mean? So I'm going to be getting that prepped shortly. This looks like it's burning really nice actually. I'll toss in 1 log and maybe 2. We'll toss in 2. Those are hardwood rounds, and we'll let it do its thing. Now I am going to have to go back out again a little later on to gather up some twigs for in the morning, and I'm going to have to split this stuff down way later tonight or early in the morning. I'd much rather do it tonight, that way it can air out even more overnight. And yeah, I'll need some twigs. I can already see this piece steaming away. That water's just evaporating right off of it, so I'm quite confident that's going to be enough wood. But like I said, I may gather up a little bit later on after cooking and reassess stockpile and go from there. So let's start cooking. Alright guys, while supper is slowly cooking in that frying pan, I'm going to pack away some of my things because off camera I have been doing a lot of wood prep and I've got a ton of firewood inside the tent right now. I did receive a brand new 24-inch Boreal from Agua in the nice leather sheath. The reason for this, might as well mention this, back when I ended up cutting my thumb, I don't know if you guys were tuned into that video, but I cut my thumb probably about 5 videos back. That saw that I was using, I've had for maybe 2.5 years. I can't remember now. When they first came out with a Boreal 24-inch saw, they sent me one. That's how long I've had it. It finally broke. Just from wear and tear, nothing failed on it design-wise, just wear and tear. Beautiful saw, so I let them know. 3 days later, this showed up in the mail. Very, very happy with it. Brand new 24-inch with 2 aggressive blades and this awesome Agua leather case, which is great because way more rugged than the other one. So that's the story on the saw. I did not bring my axe on this trip because I brought all that meat and a little bit more water. So while that's cooking away, it looks like it's almost done. Boomer is going to get 2 pieces that are not seasoned and some dog food, of course, so that's the reason why I'm cooking it the way I'm cooking it. But right now I'm going to get this stuff inside of the tent. It is starting to mist with rain. I can feel it in the air. And it is getting colder, so I'm going to say it's going to turn to flurries. I thought I saw a couple pieces coming through the trees. I might be right. It is probably about 3 degrees right now Celsius. It is supposed to go down to freezing tonight, so fingers crossed we get some flurries and some snow. That would be great. So let's get this inside the tent and check on that steak. Alright, well it smells absolutely just like a steakhouse inside of here. Very, very good. So I like my steak medium rare. It looks like it's getting to that point right now. And with the weather being so cold, it's really easy to backpack food in without a refrigerator. So that's really great. That's looking pretty close to done. And yes, that is all I'm eating. A whole bunch of steak. Just want a steak tonight. That's what I got. Like I said, Boomer's got 2 pieces here, non-seasoned. And yeah, I'm going to get this out of the pan in just a few minutes. Cook his up. I'm going to chill out here and eat and probably get this door shut very shortly because that cool breeze coming in off the lake is getting colder. And well, what's the point of having a hot tent if it's cold? Might as well shut the door and keep it nice and hot. So let's finish this up and enjoy some beautifully cooked steak. Alright guys, we got some rain falling on the tent right now, really hard to pick up, but like I said, it is forecasted to do something tonight, and it's actually starting to turn to ice. As I'm touching it, little ice pellets are hitting the tent, so this is looking really good. Alright, so coming back inside of the tent, it is very warm in here. There's that sizzle. So cooking up Boomer steaks right now. He also likes his medium rare. So we'll get this cooked up. Now the reason why I ate mine first, his second, one, I'm starving, and two, he already ate. He had a bunch of dog food, a whole bunch of treats. He's no way starving or thirsty. I will put it to you that way. We're on the edge of a lake, plenty of food. It is what it is. And I don't know if it's picking up in the camera, but it is raining. Ice pellets and rain tapping on the side of the tent right now, starting to pick up a little bit more. So we'll let his steaks cook up a little bit, do a little bit of cleanup in here. This wood is getting very, very, very nice and dry. Just keep rotating a couple pieces in and out, and yeah, it's gonna work out really, really well. The windows on this is really nice because once these lights are off, the whole vestibule area glows really, really nicely. I'm excited for later on when I can just shut everything off and enjoy the sounds and the sights. So cook this up really quickly for him, and then we're going to get this stove cranked up because, like I said, it is getting quite cold with that door open. It's warmer in here than out there, obviously, but that cold air is still kind of swooping in here. I don't want to crank the stove up too hot because it'll start burning, and that nasty smell inside the tent's never nice. So yeah, we'll let this do its thing and get him fed. Here. Alright guys, rain and ice is coming in. The winds are absolutely frigid cold. So it's going to be time to get this light off, bring it inside, get this door shut, and get out of this wetness. It is getting really, really wet and nasty out here, and that wind is going right through me. Whew. The bonuses of having a hot tent. So get inside here. I am actually rinsing out this frying pan. I do need to get this cleaned up a little bit, so I've got some hot water in here, and yeah, I'll let that boil up a little bit, and then I'll have to come back out, dump it in the fire pit area, just so that scent is out of here. But let's get inside and get cozy. Alright guys, jumping back inside of the tent. It is raining. So with the cold wind, it was turning to ice. Right now it is just a freezing cold rain. Absolute cold, but it is still liquid rain. So I'm going to take this time to inflate my sleeping pad, seeing that I have all this room inside of the inner to move around. Sleeping bag off to the side. That's a bonus with this 3-person tent with only one person in here. There's a lot of room. So I'm going to get this inflated, and hopefully, I mean, either way I'm happy. I like the rain, but hopefully it turns into some snow a little later on, because that would be awesome. But right now the sound of all that rain and wind outside is pretty awesome. So take my time, get this inflated here, and get nice and cozy, get out of this hoodie and start relaxing. Alright guys, well, it is very, very windy and rainy outside right now. Usually I place large rocks on the legs to the wood stove to prevent it from rocking in situations like this. I did not do that today on purpose because I want the stove to move. My reason behind that is, as mentioned at the beginning of the video, these rings on this pipe are not actually the right size. So picture this, if I had the stove rooted to the ground and the tent's moving and that pipe's moving, it's going to create a pivot point where that ring is. So right now with the stove moving, it's essentially going with it, therefore it's not going to fall off. So it's actually rocking really, really nicely right now. The whole stove's going with it. I don't see any movement in the pipe or the ring. Very good. So that's the deal with that. Looking at the stove, it is burning really nice and hot right now. My boots are steaming, those are drying out. Firewood steaming, that's drying out. Boomer's asleep way at the head end of the tent. Knocked, he is out. I've got my sleeping bag, I've got my sleeping pad ready. Everything's looking pretty good, so I'm probably just going to turn in now. I do have a movie saved on my phone I'm going to watch. Get that done and enjoy the sound of the rain all night, I guess. So, wood stove, I'm going to toss a log in there and kick back and relax. So, I'll catch you guys in the morning for some hot coffee. Good morning, everybody. It is a wet, cold, and windy morning out here today. So, huddled very close next to the wood stove, got a little bit of a story to tell you about last night. I don't know if the camera's picking up or not, but this big dent in the chimney, it's not actually a dent, it's more of a fold. And the reason for that, put the coffee down. The reason for that is because the pipe is wider at the base because I had to use a wider ring, and then I went down to a smaller ring, which creates a cone kind of effect, a little flare, which naturally wants to put a bend in the metal. So last night, the stove is not anchored to the ground, and the pipe was kind of, blowing around. The winds got so crazy, and I mean crazy, for the first time ever in my hot tenting career. I actually thought the pipe was going to bend over. So that's the problem with a tent where the pipe is only inside of the tent about 18 to 24 inches. That stove jack in the tent actually holds the pipe steady from blowing around. Well, if you have a tall tent and that's really long and you only have a little bit of pipe coming out the top, the pipe's not going to blow over. But when you have a tent that's really low to the ground and the pipe is long, sure, I could cut the pipe, but this pipe I use on multiple tents, so that's the reason why I didn't do that. I didn't put the guy outs on the pipe either, which is another way to mitigate that. But what I did do is crawled out of the tent last night at about 1 o'clock in the morning, and I had to put 2 guy lines on the tent because the wind was coming in so hard pushing this way, the pipe was almost bending over. The stove was lifting off the ground, doing its thing. And yeah, I jumped out of the tent. It was snowing. It was spitting ice and slush, nasty stuff. All of that is gone now. The temperature's actually come up to 7 degrees Celsius right now. But that wind, it feels like it's probably like 2 degrees Celsius. So Boomer and I had a really good night's sleep after that. It turned from snow and slush and ice to just downpour with rain, probably at about 5 o'clock in the morning, just downpour. And now it is finally let up. It's still windy, still cold though, so this hot coffee is definitely going to hit home today. This wood stove is burning really good. I definitely prepped enough wood. There's probably going to be a couple pieces of leftover. I don't think I want to load any more in. It's pretty full right now. I'll probably just let it do its thing, burn out, and then start the pack up process. But just wanted to bring you guys up to speed. Last night did get my rain, got lots of it, did get my snow, a little bit of it, and yeah, I stayed nice and warm inside the tent. So cheers guys, and good morning. Alright guys, morning coffee's finished up with. Just looking in at the stove. It's got about 5 more minutes of burn time. I've got a lot of things to get packed up, and I'm in a little bit of a hurry because looking out across this lake, there's a wall of flurries, slush, I don't know what it is, but it looks like a pretty nasty squall pushing in this way, and I'd say I've got about maybe 10 minutes before it hits here. So I do not want to get caught in that trying to pack up, especially with things sprawled out. The tent's large, that's got to get taken down. The stove's got to get cooled off, broken down all properly. And I've got about 10 minutes to do it. So I'm going to wrap the video up right now, rip all the stuff apart, jam it in the backpack, get out of here, get it edited and uploaded for you guys. Let me know in the comment section what you guys thought. And until next time, peace out. I'll see you in the next adventure.